going to continue our uncontested race interviews, and today I have David Junker, and David represents Ward 2 of Stillwater. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you.
And Larry Odebrecht. He is new, representing Ward 3 in Stillwater. No competition.
No competition.
How lucky was that?
Very lucky. I thought for sure Tom was going to clobber me. And Dave's laughing, but he for sure would have. So, this was for experience and hoping to get the seat at some future point. And, managed to luck out.
Are you from Stillwater?
I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, but I've been in Stillwater for almost 20 years now. Wife's Bayport native.
Did you know Dave?
Dave and I used to be neighbors, actually. Dave's a friend. I like Dave. He
that's
lived,
a good start.
That is a very good start.
How about that buttering up so early? Easy, Larry.
As a matter of fact, right after the nominations were closed, I found out that Larry didn't have an opponent. So I called him up and we met for coffee and had a great conversation. So it was going back to this new development that we put together in the city of Stillwater. Larry and I just happened to be neighbors there 10 years ago.
Yeah.
This must have been quite a... So he didn't know you were running or knew you were running?
It was a bit of a last-minute thing for me, so no, he didn't know he was going.
Yeah, well, no, I was wondering, too, because no one had filed for Ward 3, so I'm like, wow. Ward 3, right?
Ward 3.
Yeah. Okay, question. Do you like the ward system? Do you wish it were more like the other cities where they represent everyone, or do you feel comfortable? Because you've been on both, right?
Yeah, I've ran for both, city council, when it was the entire city. And I first, when the council did change to the ward system, I thought, we're not big enough. I thought that we should be voted by everybody versus just the wards. And then when I ran again for city council under the ward system, I tell you what, it sure makes the campaigning a lot easier. You just, you specify in your own ward area, and it's a much easier campaign. And I think, I've gotten used to it now, so I think I would probably favor the ward system with a city of 20,000 people.
Yeah. You must have felt like, okay, it's doable.
Yeah, my observation would be I was the president of the homeowners association in the neighborhood we lived in, and it was really nice to have a local neighbor as your city council person because, easy for them to attend the meetings. We all know the neighborhood situations across, the couple neighborhoods that are in my ward. It seems to make it more accessible. I've never, worked in the other systems before, but this makes a lot of sense to me.
Larry, how many years have you known Dave?
I guess about 10, 12 now.
So did you know his dad?
I did not. I sold my house in Oak Park Heights to a junker, but Brad, maybe? Does that ring a bell?
I couldn't begin to tell you, Larry. There's so many junkers.
Drew, offshoots too, right?
Yeah.
Tell our viewers. I'm a native. I know your family history, but tell our viewers about your dad, who has a rich history in Stillwater politics and beyond. And anything else you want on your family? Yeah,
it was truly an honor. Actually, I was a senior in high school when my dad first said that he was going to run for mayor. And I'm like, you're going to what? Because my dad hadn't been involved in politics at all prior to running for mayor of Stillwater. And then he won that first election, and I thought, wow, this will be interesting. So I think I learned a great amount of respect for not only him, but my mother as well, too. The phone calls, this is back before even cell phones were even thought of then. So every phone call, everybody either knocked on your door or they called your home phone number to get a hold of the mayor of Stillwater. So I did learn a lot, but I also learned the respect of the mayor, the city council, the political environment, even though it's a town of Stillwater of 11,000 back then. But I learned a lot, and I really realized that, I need to be more involved too as a very young person back then. I was after college when my dad was still mayor and everything. I said I've got to get myself involved as well too. So for me, it was a great stepping stone. But my dad was he's probably, and I've said this my entire life, he's probably the most honest person that I know. So I love the way he ran his politics. He would tell you right to your face what he thought of something versus tell you something and then absolutely vote against it. So he was just hardworking and probably the most honest person
straight shooter
that I've ever known.
I remember, I believe I had done a cable program, and I asked the newly elected, or maybe they were running for office, I can't remember, school board members, were they planning to fire, and I think it was, were they planning to fire Kathleen Macy? Just asked it. And Kathleen Macy went like this. She was right next to me, but I wanted to know, and I wanted the viewers to know. So I saw your dad maybe a month or two later, and he said, I said, "Hi, Chuck," and I want to know that name too, how that came by. "Hi, Chuck, how's it going?" He said, "I'm not talking to you." And I go, "Chuck, what? You're not talking to me? Well, this will be a first in my whole life." And he said, "Because you asked that question in front of everyone, and then it hit the front page top, cable show. Usually cable shows weren't covered back then, they're more now, that had been, that show had addressed that." And I said, "Chuck, that is a question that you would ask yourself. You would.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to know." And he paused and he said, "You're right." And then he was just super nice, yeah. But it's interesting. I don't think he really even saw how we viewed him. Maybe he did through the years, that we saw him as some guy who would be the straight shooter, who would want to know the answer. Don't play games. And Chuck, how did that name come to be?
Yeah, so when he was a kid, growing up on the South Hill of Stillwater by the old athletic field, there was a number of different ice cream stores there. His favorite ice cream was chocolate. I think he had chocolate ice cream every day of his life.
Funny.
And somehow somebody gave him that. I don't even know who gave him that name, but it kind of stuck. And most people don't even know his real name of David. It's Chalk.
Are you David Jr. or not?
Not officially a junior,
Got it.
but still David.
Yeah, different middle name?
Different
Yeah.
middle name.
Larry, okay, so, sorry, we just nostalgia here.
Hey, I'm learning a ton here. So
That's good for you. What are you looking forward to most as council? Let's say you
Yeah.
don't have a write-in candidate.
Yeah. I think the good and bad of me is I don't have a big agenda coming in. I just want to serve. But the first thing to pop in my head is that Chestnut project. I think we have an opportunity to really make.
Explain that for viewers.
Yeah, sorry. The Chestnut area is the area right in front of the lift bridge that over the next couple years are going to get an opportunity to design that to be, in my cartoon bubble, something that could be a real asset to Stillwater, in that we could, open seating. Perhaps we learn a little something out of this COVID thing and make it accessible for some dining and stuff like that. But it's, that trail, what the city and the state have done around the trail system we have on the two bridges now is such an asset, and I think it's going to be such a draw for downtown. And getting to put the finishing touches on that is just exciting.
So no cars at all allowed on that plaza?
They actually have to. The deal that's been worked out with DOT is you have to be able to get an emergency vehicle through there.
Sure.
So, which makes a ton of sense, right? If something really
You'd
bad
want it,
happens, we
but-
want to,
right.
be able to use that bridge as necessary. So the design is going to have that in mind. But beyond that, my understanding is there's a lot of opportunity for us to work through things. And I know Tom McCarty and others have been working with.
And that's the city administrator.
City administrator. Sorry, I should be leading some of the stuff out. Have been working to get a lot of ideas from the public. There's several design options right now. Tons of cool stuff. And I don't have anything particular in mind for it. Just want it to be something where it really highlights that asset and really highlights downtown.
We, Dave knows this, for years talked, this bridge, when was it going to be built? Where was it going to be built? And I'd mentioned on the Oak Park Heights uncontested race interview that our famous coach, George Stoll, had said that it had been talking about it since Moby Dick was a minnow. And seriously, does that not sound like George, right?
I've got a better one for you. I don't know if this is true, but I heard
You
on the radio.
better beat this really well.
Longest public comment period on a public works project in human history, inclusive of pyramids, Great Wall of China, and Stonehenge.
Wow, that's kind of heavy.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? I don't know if it's true, but
I'm not sure if it's good, but it's heavy.
yeah, it's
Well,
Larry's going to be quite a character.
yeah, if he brings up all these old quotes like
Yeah, I
this,
know.
yeah.
I know.
But I think if you look at the
Larry,
finished
I like
product
it.
too, and I thought we had the bridge done back when I was on the city council for the first time back in
Gosh,
2002. And I know even prior administrations thought that they had it done prior to 2002. But look what we've got now.
I know.
The finished product
Beautiful.
of not only the way the old lift bridge looks right now with the different color, the pedestrian walkways and bikeways, but the new bridge, that's 3 years old now, is fabulous.
Sculpture.
It is.
The design is
Beautiful.
fabulous. The noise is minimal,
Yeah.
and I think the pictures that we see now in downtown Stillwater with both bridges and the boats and the hot air balloons, they're absolutely incredible. So I think the worth was, definitely well worth it. And I think we're going to have a very long asset here with the lift bridge and our surrounding downtown as a great asset for our community.
I think it's a replica of one in Connecticut because when I went out to Connecticut, I went by and I go, oh my God, that looks just like the bridge, the new bridge. And it was.
Yeah.
It just was beautiful. So it stood out. There's no question on that. Did it hurt business when our old bridge closed?
I
I'm worried
really
about that.
don't think so. As a matter of fact, 10, 12 years ago, MnDOT closed the bridge for like 3 months to work on it. And I was on the city council back then as well, and the chamber were talking to us, and they were looking for money from the city to help them market and advertise their businesses because they thought nobody would come to downtown Stillwater because the traffic was all being diverted because the bridge was closed for 3 months. And we did a number of studies after that 3 months, and the majority of businesses in downtown Stillwater had big increases. Now people can get downtown. When you have 20,000 vehicles crossing that bridge every day, semi-trucks, trucks, and they weren't stopping. That was just their destination was to go through the city of Stillwater. Now you take that out, you can get down and you can navigate in Stillwater now. You can find a place to park, you can get down there. It's just a much different environment.
Remember the semis knocking over the lights?
Oh,
That's
all the
what
time.
I kept thinking about. Is
Oh.
we just went through a rash of people jamming their trucks onto that
Right,
bridge.
exactly.
It just
No.
hurts everybody.
No, it's downtown is.
Well, Reed's Drugstore used to be right on the corner of Chestnut and Main.
These are all memory
on the
rushes there.
on the east side of
Yeah.
of Main Street, and they had a big overhang there, and their logo with Reed's Drug on it. That got hit about once a month. People
was
that
really
the trucks
bad.
would take the corner too short, and the back ends would clip off either the street lights or they take off Reed's Drug's corner of their building.
Yeah. So one of the mayoral candidates during that time in Stillwater said, "You always ask that question," and I said, "I will ask that until this thing gets built." So live with that type of deal. And finally, it happened, and now it just seems like forever. I've been doing this forever. But in any case, it looks great. During the spring, I was downtown a lot, and it was just so sad. Oh my gosh, it was sad. To walk down the empty, just nothing open or very limited. Somewhere you could drive up, get food, curbside pickup, but it was sad. Did you feel that? Like, wow, is this ever going to come back?
Well, going back to April, when COVID hit, and then the governor started talking about closing some things down. We got very, myself and the chamber and some other businesses got very aggressive from a standpoint, what can we do in downtown Stillwater, knowing that there's some shutdowns, knowing that if we do open, at what capacity? So we really started putting together some great ideas on the outdoor patios, utilizing city streets, utilizing city parking spots, utilizing private spots, and that really jump-started. So once June 1st started, and I'm trying to think of the exact date that then the governor opened it up at like 50%, things started to kick in. And then on June 1st, the lift bridge opened up. That was completed. So then really, and I live in downtown Stillwater in one of the condos, so I'm down there every day, and to see the people that have come into Stillwater, not in March and April, but once June 1st started kicking in,
Yeah, it
and we
was
had
a
nicer
change. Yeah,
weather,
I'll say.
things really jump-started, and it's been big crowds all the time in Stillwater now.
Is it sustainable? Because right now it's outside, and I agree with you. I saw a huge difference. I mean, it just felt like in one weekend,
Right.
which is probably exactly when it happened. But now you get into the cold weather. You know, you won't. I'm not sure how they're going to handle the outside dining. You know, the snow, where they put in the snow on the streets that have the outside dining. What do you think? Is it sustainable?
I know that Mayor Ted was looking into possibly
Ted
using
Kozlowski.
some of the, I think it's CARES Act money that we were thinking about using for the propane tanks for the outside for some of the restaurants. I think that's a bright idea. Frankly, when we come out of this, I'd like to see some of these ideas carry forward. You know, we now have the ability to, you know, get a bottle of wine from a restaurant, go down to the park and throw out a picnic blanket and hang out with your kids. I think we've proven inside of the pandemic that that's you know, not going to create a public nuisance or anything like that. Something that if we can continue to do, I'd love to. Yeah, but I am deeply worried about winter, because when it gets into a cold snap, you know, the real hard stuff that we have in Minnesota, I'm not interested in eating outside for a while.
Do you think we've seen a lot of people on their way out of here? Can't afford it, don't have jobs, for whatever reason, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the magic question. That's a great question. There are a number of businesses in downtown Stillwater that have actually exceeded 2019's numbers. So
Yes.
they've had a better year in 2020 than 2019. But certainly, whenever your business capacity is limited, yeah, it's going to put, you know, some stress and some hardship on your business. Now, November 2nd, which is a Monday, that is the day that the barricades and the outdoor patios will come to an end.
Oh, there is
So
a date.
that will
Okay.
be picked up by the city of Stillwater. The barricades will all be gone. We need to get the downtown Stillwater area, particularly some of the busier patio streets like Myrtle Street and Chestnut Street. We need to make sure that our streets are getting prepared for snow removal and cleanup and everything else. Now, potentially there could be some creative ideas for some outdoor tents of some sort or outdoor something with some propane or whatever to kind of help out some businesses. I know some businesses like in Hudson and other areas, they're actually building, and they did this last winter, igloos. So they're enclosed igloos that allow up to, some are 20 people, 16 people, 12 people on their patios, on their own property patios, to enhance the ability to have more people, you know, dine outside. But I think, you know, it's the unknown of COVID still. You know, you keep hearing about a potential virus here at some time, and but I think the winter, as Larry has indicated, the mayor and a bunch of people, we put together a number of ideas to generate more business in downtown Stillwater, called Winter in Stillwater, with activities and lighting the downtown, doing some other things, a potential ice rink maybe, but just something to really continue the pace that we've been on all summer throughout the winter.
Are you going to have Stillwater lights this year? I'm not sure I'm using the title right, but how they'd light up Lowell Park.
Yeah, so we're working on that right now.
So you think it's going to happen?
And we're still going to have the lighting
good.
of the tree and
Yes.
twinkle parades and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But there's a number of activities that we need to do, particularly in January and February,
Right.
to continue and generate more business in downtown.
Oh, absolutely.
Can I make a point about something Dave just said?
Larry, you can talk whenever you want.
I just wanted to pay you a compliment because I'm not sure people how aware people are, but Main Street is a county road, and getting those barriers up and getting them up quickly was not a small task. It required a lot of local government and county government interaction and coordination, and I knew there was some back and forth on the length and how they were going to be. And you know, I hope our local businesses realize the work that was put in by the council that it was on to get that done and get that done quickly so people could open their doors.
Yeah, you make a great point. You know, we were dealing with State Highway, Washington County roads in downtown, and then our own roads. And great job by our city staff. Great job with working with the governor's office, with the county, and making that happen, because we were one of the first cities in Minnesota to jumpstart this. So everyone worked really hard to create this environment that, Larry indicated earlier in today's conversation. There's areas like that we set up this year that we hope to bring back next year. Mm-hmm. Some alleys, some parking spaces, some other areas that really kind of create an ambiance with an outdoor patio that is pretty cool.
Yeah, the space behind Lolito, for instance. Yes. My wife and I love to travel, and it's just a little bit of northern Italy back there. You get back in there, and you got the wires and balconies and everything, and it is a neat place to go.
Right, it is. Are you worried about the residents? So let's leave the downtown area. It sounds like you've really got it's laser focused now to keep that afloat and do actually survive more than survive, thrive. The residents up in the let's in the hills, as I call them. Are you worried that they're going to stay or that they can afford to stay?
Yeah, it's again another great question from a standpoint of what's down the road with COVID, from a standpoint of, at some point they probably are going to do another stimulus package, in my opinion, of some sort that will help out people that have been laid off due to their job closures or whatever. It's a little bit unknown, but hopefully we can get things, worked out and get things straightened out and get closer to that virus or whatever else we need to put an end to what we're seeing right now. You always hear the comment, will we ever get back to normal? I don't know. Even, you hear the phrase, the new normal or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. We got to have businesses. We've got to have businesses open.
Right.
I think we need to keep this economy growing and getting better and better, and hopefully we can get this thing finished
And
with.
you can see them in pretty jumped increments where it really does feel good. Do you think it's too restrictive? It's killing some of the towns. Too long, maybe.
Too long, too restrictive. I would agree with Dave. I think the lame duck Congress is going to pass something. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of a question of when that money hits and when it's available. And, particular concern, obviously low income. I think there's, I'm not afraid, but I am deeply concerned about what the next couple months look like. I think if we can manage to stay, if lame duck Congress does something, and we can manage to kind of keep our heads above water for a few more months and hang on for that vaccine, we'll start to, we might have just enough gas in there to kind of help some people along the way.
I'm an election judge in Stillwater, and I worked at the Ascension, and only 54 people showed. This is, what month was that?
August primary.
The August primary, way different than presidential, had way more.
Can I, I'm interrupting you, but those screens that you had, the wooden screens with the plexiglass.
What's your point?
For all the voters, that was my son's Eagle Scout project.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good. Way to go. I used them.
Shout out for Jacob Odebrecht.
Absolutely. You are a character. Can we expect more of this?
He'll love it.
You're just getting
That's
started.
Good. I liked him. Yeah. No. But we only had 54 voters there between 7 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Well, now, really, early voting. I mean, my guess is if it were the same election, I'd probably have 2 people there, or very few. Is there a point, do you think, that they'll condense maybe even to one area, Armory or the high school or something, where it just go, like Oak Park Heights is now down, it's 2 down to 1. Do you see that at all?
Potentially, again, we'd have to be very protective of our ward system, depending on.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, that is
you'd have
right.
to have certain corners
That's right.
of a centralized building or something for the ward system. But I think we'll see what happens here. I think in November, in a couple of weeks, I think you're going to see I still think you're going to see a very massive turnout. Not just mail-in ballots, but certainly people going to the polls in person. And then from there, we'll see what happens, going forward from 2022 for the next election and then 2024 for the next presidential. But I don't see us doing anything intramually here to break it down into smaller locations.
I forgot about the ward piece being there. Boy, there were like too many questions to give you. What do you, as you go back to the council and you feel, do you miss, first of all, campaigning?
So this is my 7th election.
Yeah, you mentioned
And, I've won some, I've lost some, And, campaigns are always, they can be kind of stressful. You always feel that you should be out campaigning. It's almost like being back in college where you always thought, I should be studying.
Yeah.
Whereas in campaigning, like I would be out on the golf course or something, and I'm like, what am I doing on the golf course? I should be knocking on doors or campaigning. So it has been somewhat of a different feeling this year running unopposed, and I'd be lying if I didn't say it's kind of nice.
I bet.
But
and I bet you hope it stays that way. For you.
I'm kind of looking forward to the experience, actually. If I have another opportunity to run, I honestly, it's almost the opposite. I feel a little bit like
you got denied because you got denied meeting people for sure.
And that's the thing that's hard to get under is
Right.
Okay, so I've got a pretty good beat on what's going on in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
But Oak Glen, a little bit more distant. I don't know if it's okay for me to. I don't know if I'm comfortable door knocking. I don't know if I want to make people feel uncomfortable doing that.
Right. I don't think
So
they're
trying to find those forums where you can talk to people and hear.
Right.
Okay, this is this is the concern. This is the concern. It's nearly impossible to find your way into those
Why don't you
spaces.
send out some of those mailers that everyone's not reading
Yeah.
anymore? Oh my! I mean, you read them for the first week, and it's like this too
Yep.
much. We only have a few minutes left. Is there anything we haven't touched that you want to express to the viewers?
No, not off the top of my head. I just want everybody to know I'm excited to be on the council. I teach a little bit over at Metro State and pride myself with my students on making myself accessible, and I think that'll carry over into the city work as well. Just excited to get an opportunity to be a public servant.
And Larry would like your vote. Fill in the oval because unlike, this is you have the other side is all judges. Only one that I'm now aware of that has a contested race. And most people come up to me as an election judge. Do we have to vote this whole page? No, you don't have to. You can just vote one. But I think on that page that has most of the candidates that are contested, there are some that are uncontested, but you'd like to vote.
I
It
would
would
like
make
to
you
vote.
feel good, right? Going to bed knowing they vote.
Absolutely.
I mean, not just your wife's vote, so, well.
Well, I'm not sure I got that yet.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that one.
Okay. Davey, anything that you want to mention?
I just want to say, there are so many exciting projects and things that are going on in Stillwater right now. And the next 2, 3, 4 years between, as Larry mentioned earlier, we've got the downtown plaza, we've got the Rivertown restoration on the water shoreline, we've got the Eiffel property with 2,000 feet of shoreline that will be completed. We've got some new developments going on the west end of town with potentially the hospital and Hy-Vee and some other areas. And the other thing is a curling club. We're looking at doing a big curling project up at the rec center here if our funding can come through on that as well too. So citizens of Stillwater and our neighbors and everything else, we have so many great things going on in downtown Stillwater and the entire valley and city that hang on because and get involved. And we want your input because it's going to make Stillwater way more fabulous than it is now.
Councilmember David Junker, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Margot.
I call you Councilmember-elect. I mean, things that really have to go screwy wrong. But
Widener calls me presumptive council member.
and I'll go with his. But anyhow, Larry Odebrecht, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.